Hi, everyone. It's been so I unmute. You hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So hi, everyone. So my name is Dr. Walalak. So today it's been an honor for me to present in this topic. So this is what I'm gonna talk about today. This is my art in neurosurgery. I am neurosurgeon myself, actually neurovascular interventionist, but I'm also the medical illustrations and graphic designers in which I work for the neurosurgical TV as well. So who I am, of course, that I finished the general like medical students being internships, and I finished the neurosurgical residence in Thailand. And then I furthered my study as neurovascular surgeons and interventions fellowship programs in Japan and in Thailand. So right now my subspecialty is I'm working as the neurovascular and neurointerventionist at Chiang Mai Neurological Hospital, Thailand. But as also like why I study, I also like to draw and illustrate about the anatomies and neuroanatomy. So it's kind of like, the learning process for me that in which it's helped me to studies too. In which I start to take it serious since like 2019, in which at the same time when the have a COVID comes until present. So this is the QR code for if you are interested in my work. So today I'm going to talk about what is how do I start my work? So why do I start to draw while I training or in the medical students? So as you see that in the textbook, there's a lot of like, takes, but maybe because maybe if you start to read something, maybe if you see the picture, maybe it can help you to concise the main topic and it can help you to know what is the main focus. This is my favorite like textbook that from the Neurosurgery of Cerebral Aneurysms by illustrated by Dr. Sentaro Ito. He's neurosurgeon from Japan. It's very beautiful. So let me brief to you about the history of medical illustrations. It have been found before the 15,000 BC, in which at the very early it's only the pictograms. For the first anatomical illustrations, it's only an elephant with the heart shapes on that. And after that, with the ancient Egyptians, Romans, and Renaissance, and until now. Even the father of the surgeons, Dr. Harvey Cushing, he also the illustrators himself too. Nowadays, there have a lot of illustrators and wonderful artists all around the world that creates. This is the fields of the artists or illustrators that I follow. So Aristotle used to say in the 4th century BC that one might begin philosophy but would end with medicines, or start with medicines and find oneself in philosophy. But for me, maybe I find oneself in medicines but would end with art, or start with art and find myself in medicine. But I would not say that I would end with art. But for me, medicine and art can be collaborated. The use of art in medical illustrations can help in the learning process, traditional arts and combined with technologies, help for teachings and discussing process, and help to solve the communication dilemmas. It can make some things that it's complicated to something it's simple and it's bring them to life. This is just a few of the books that I used to illustrate. I did not update it until last year. The first book that I illustrate is for when I was in the neurosurgical residence, before I almost like finished the training. So for the first book that I illustrate is Common Neurosurgical Conditions and Pitfall Found in General Practice. And the first book that I illustrate is the black and white illustrations. I do not only illustrate for only the neurosurgical fields. I also illustrate for other surgical fields, such as vascular surgeons, plastic surgeons, or even general surgeons or oncologists too. And I also like illustrate for Thai massage acupuncture points. And I also collaborate my works with my professor in Japan. And I also collaborate with the handbook in neurotrauma in India. This is an example of the illustrations. For the beginning, maybe it's just only a cartoon and make things like, look simple and easy to understand. it's easy for the like, you know, for the medical students or maybe the first or second years of the neurosurgical trainings to students to understand. This is the vascular injuries textbook in which I illustrate almost the entire of the books with the vascular surgeons. So that's why I found that, okay, maybe I will further my study to be the neurovascular surgeons. So I not only like illustrate, so I think that my type of illustrations have unique. I do not have the lines at the end, but I also like, you know, do the graphic designs too. So what interesting me in doing illustration is you not only draw what they ask you, but the writers or the professor have to like tell you what is the idea of the book or the article that they're going to tell. So it's kind of like, you know, not only draw, but you just like, you know, just know some other ideas or other details too. I also, besides the textbook, I also illustrate for many of the medical articles in Thailand or in other countries worldwide. So I really exciting to work with every writers, because it's kind of, for an article idea for me is kind of like, you know, something that is new created. So before we going to draw the draft or illustrations for each of the articles, so we have the brief talk with the writer first, and then maybe sometime I have to like concise or like, you know, tries to make the ideas into the pictures and create something new. So it's not only the, as you see that there's not only the neurosurgical fields that I illustrate for. So maybe sometime for orthopedics, plastic surgeon or vascular surgeons as well. This is, I will give you an example of some of the paper that I used to illustrate. This is that I'm proud of. I illustrate for the progress in neurosurgery contributes to women neurosurgeons in Asian and Australasians. So I contribute the information about Thailand and I write some of the paragraphs. And I just contribute the illustrations for them. This one is called Surgical Mind. This one is called Window to Neurosurgery. So for the meaning of each picture is kind of like, you know, it's have me actually at the background. But for me, just like for this article is that tries to empower the women neurosurgeons. What we do in the surgical field innovation is not different compared to the men surgeons. Actually, for me, just like, you know, maybe we just too busy, but in our mind, we just like thinking about what is the best way to do for the surgeons. And this one is called Window to Neurosurgery. For me, in this meaning is mean like when we think about we have to operate on some things to the patients, we have to think about the best way or which window is the best approach to the patients. This is work that I corroborate my works to the orthopedic surgeons, in which he tries to demonstrate the endoscopic assist odontoid screw insertions. I also do some other surface anatomies. This one I work with the anesthesiologist textbook, in which they try to explain or write the details about how to do the anesthesiologist in the obesity patients. This one, this paper just published. I work with the neurointervention, the Dr. Anjali in Thailand. So I create her the cavernous sinus anatomy, in which I start from like talking about the idea, what she wants, and then I just like create the new illustrations for her. And then it just kind of like, you know, the original draft of the illustrations, and then I just like send her the draft, and then she's gonna look at that again. So the easy for me, and I think that the way that I work with the doctor is because I am also neurovascular surgeon too. So I kind of like, you know, every time when I work with some doctor, I would feel that I always learn something new. And maybe, of course, there's some like minimal details and things that I can like, you know, can fix or can know in details by times. This one I sometimes because I like to draw the post-operative operations that I do so that I just can remind of myself that, okay, this is like relaxing time by post-operative picture. This one I do illustration for the anatomy of the peripheral nerve, anterior rhinoscopy. So it's not, sometimes maybe it's not only focused about surgical like idea, but you can tell me like, what type of illustration that you want. Maybe you can want to have see the patient's expressions as well. This one is for like demonstrate how to use the equipment. This one is I tries to depict how to make the operative note just like more easy to understand and interesting by adding the details and adding more like, beautiful illustrations from that. So if you like interested in my work, so most of the time I just like, I found it more easy to post in the Instagram, so you can like go through, see, some other of my arts there. So I also the editorial board for the Asian Journal of Arts and Culture. And I also work for the Neurosurgical TV. And I also illustrate, as I told you before, that not only neurosurgery that I illustrate for. So I used to illustrate for the Royal College of Thailand Surgeons for the basic science projects for their textbook and do arts exhibitions. This is some of my art that I used to work besides the neurosurgery stuff. So if there's a medical student or neurosurgical resident or the fellow, here. So where do I start? I have to tell you first that I'm not born with talents or artists. I'm not artist. I never learned art. I never go to the art school. So I just like, begin from the very basic stuff, from the paper sketch. Like when you go to the anatomy class, when you in the medical student, so just make a short note. But for the better way for me is to like, draw a picture, so it can help me to learn it much better. And then when I go train at a neurosurgical residence, I start to draw an operative note. But for me, as that English is not my first language, so most of the time I will like draft and draw the picture on the operative notes, and then I just fill the information after that. And then after that, when I just got my first like digital iPad, so I just started to do the digital illustrations. So things take time. I did not like start big and begin as make a beautiful art from the beginning. Everything is like the surgical skill. It takes time, so just be patient. And you should. And I got questions every time that how can I do it, because maybe some of you do not know how to draw, but for me, you just like grab the pencil and just try to draw some lines. And believe me, if you do it every day, 365, you will see that amazing results after that you like, do it every day. So this is the paper sketch in which I do when I was in the medical students. So when I go to the anatomy class, so I just drawing and then highlight and read through my note a lot. So it's not only the pen or pencils that I do. Maybe sometime if I have more time, so I just color it. So it's make it more like, relaxed for me. And after that, when I was in the neurosurgical residence, so of course I told you that I start to draw my operative notes. So most of the time so it's helped me, because sometimes that if you just only observe, maybe the incisions or the idea how to make an incisions is different. So you just like, maybe only the sentence, or maybe you will forget in the future, but to make a picture, so it's more clear to understand. So this some of the my operative note when I was a neurosurgical resident. Most of the time it will be aneurysm case, in which it's my it's interest me. Yeah. So most of the time I like to draw the human figures too, because Also, I mean, for me, the surgery, every step is important. So I do not only draw the finding, I was draw things that like what it should be the proper scalp incisions, how to decide like, which way you're gonna put the muscle to, always the best way to do the first burr hole or something like that. And especially the dura incisions. Yeah, this is maybe if you close the scalp, maybe other people will not know what you do to the patients. So for me, I like to draw the pictures to show. So maybe other person, if they read my operative note, they will like have an idea what I'm doing in the field. This is the spinal case. So I just like, pay attention to the detail, even the positions of the patients, what it should be, the incisions, what is a surgical finding. This is a clipping of the aneurysm. So as you see that, you just do not need a fancy, like, instrument, just only your pen when you go and work every day and the paper, that's all. And this is from the when I go to join the cadaveric workshop. So of course, it's the best way when you just only see the if you just only standing and watch the professor like demonstrate in the TV. Maybe another day, if you do not take a picture, maybe you forget. So for me, I like to just make a quick draft and what is the important steps. Or sometimes I just tries to my teacher used to told us to try to draw what is the possibility of the operative view that we should see before we go in the operations, and then we draw it in the post-operative. So as you see that sometimes I just draw from the beginnings and until like we finish the operations. Okay, so then I move to the digital operative note. So it's more easy for me to understand. And for the residents too, if you have to present the case to the other surgical fields, such as general surgeons, vascular surgeon, maybe they do not understand if you only try to explain. So it must be better if you represent it by the teacher, so they will have an idea what you do. So sometimes I just, if I have time, so I just like, do the color it's too and make it more like that to me. So it can help you to like remember what is the, can help you to remember what is the operations. This is the P2 dissecting aneurysm. Yeah, so as you see that, I kind of like, draw every time. And when you keep continue doing that, every anatomy will be the same, as it can help you to remember the anatomy more exactly too. So as you see that the drawing, it's help you like when you just see the images and you have plans to go to do the complicated case. Maybe you can like, have a surgical planning in advance by just like, try to get what is the relative with the tumor and the nerve or the vascular that important. And then when you go and see, and if everything was right, okay, maybe you just like, have a complete understanding of anatomy. Or if something's wrong, you just like, go out after you finish the case. So you just like try to draw it again. And then you compare the pre-operative you're drawing and post-operative. And then when you continue doing that, so you will like, more precise in the surgical anatomy.
2 minutes only.
So why do I prefer drawing operative? Because it's farther, clearer, and it can help. And how do I find the drawing is useful? As I told you that used for do the pre and post-operative notes, help for surgical planning, help memorizing, it's relaxed and fun. So the program that I use now is the Procreate program, in which it's on an iPad, but the part is we have to buy it, but only for one time. and you can draw and draft the note. So this is one of the things that illustrations can help. So you just do the pre-operative note before you go into the crimping, and then you just, once that you see, it's kind of like, an answer, and you just go out and you just draw the picture what you see and you compare. For me, I just continue doing that while I'm training. So I mean, for now, I just can't picture, like, in my head that what it should be like. So, or maybe sometime if you do not don't know how to start. So for me, maybe if I can have time and take the picture from the microscope and I just track back, I just draw it from the picture, from the post-operative picture, and it's just like, keep practicing and drawing after that. This is also an operative note in which I just I have more time, so I just draw myself too. But actually, this is the ACOM. Other thing that can help me, like when I train the fellowship in vascular. So for the, maybe if you read, maybe you cannot know detail, but for me, so I just drew some of the animations to do. This one is suction decompressions technique. So drawing, it's like the surgical skill. So if you compare like before, like 2018, 2020, it's like different. So it's improved by time. So this is the work that I used to collaborate my work with Dr. Ive. And sometimes for the comic book on the magazines that I can collaborate the neurosurgery illustrations too. So I try to make neurosurgical operative note to make it more interesting, fun. So this is the project that I want to do, but yeah, it's I still keep doing that. It's the paper that I working with Professor Juha. This one is the penetrating injury that I work with another neurosurgeons in Thailand. The trauma case, burhole case, bypass case. Yes, I do bypass, and maybe on the picture you cannot know because it's all red in there. So you just draw it, and it's like, mark about that. So almost the end. So I'm not only drawing, but I used to give an art class to the neurosurgery residents to draw a very simple one, just only 1 or 2 hours. So it's make them relax and have more comfortable with the drawing. That is not, it means that everyone can do it. I try to say that you do not have to be the professional artist. You do not have to go to art school because you are still a surgeon that learning. So you just draw in your style. So as you see that, that note is not that bad. Everyone can do it. So yes, this cartoon aneurysm is like monster for me, but right now I can do intervention. So it's along with the crimping, so it's more easier for me. So thank you very much. This is my information if you're interested in my work.